to the AQHA Racing Challenge Update Championships Preview Edition. I'm Jim Byers, along with Keith Stallbories. Well, the fields are set. They've been drawn. All the regional challenge races over the past few months are in the past, and we're ready for a special night of racing coming up on Saturday at the Downs in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's when all 5 Bank of America Challenge Championships will take place. The divisions are broken down by age, distance, and in one case, gender. And coming up on this show, we'll show you the fields for each of the graded championship races and discuss some of the top contenders. Right now, though, Keith's going to tell us about the John Deere Juvenile Division. The championship is a Grade 2. These 2-year-olds go 350 yards.
Okay, Jim, here we go. The one horse is William Dale's Cartel Creek. He's trained by John Steinbaugh, Escar Ramirez, the jockey. Flight Club is the 2, owned by Charles Stojan. Ricardo Moreno has the call from trainer William Leach. Number 3, Pretty Darn Quick, owned by the estate of Thomas Bradbury and John Hammes. He'll have Ramiro Garcia in the saddle. John Hammes, the trainer. Breaking from the 4-hole is Bad Monkey, trained and owned by Dean Fry, Benito Baca, in the irons. Jocelyn Corral's Summit, the 5-horse. Carlos Chacon, the jockey. Julio Corral, the trainer. Number 6, Trace Jess, is trained by Roman Figueroa for Marco Hernandez. He'll be ridden by Sergio Dominguez. Isa Super Freak, the 7-horse, is conditioned by Brad Bolin. Deborah Godovac owns Isa Super Freak, Alejandro Medellin, the jockey. Mario Delgado has the call on number 8, JC Wild King. Casey Black trains for owner Jose Cervantes. Louisiana Bunny is the 9, conditioned by Nick Lowe. The filly has the riding services of Luis Gonzalez. Amy Lee Markholt, the owner. And the 10, Charlie's Fast Man. He's owned by Jose Mendoza and trained by Aloy Navarro. Hector Aldredes in the saddle. And Jim, in all these championship races, horses come from major tracks most fans are familiar with, but some of them qualify at the not-so-familiar tracks and do a bit of traveling just to get to Albuquerque.
You heard the name of Nick Lowe. He qualified multiple horses up in the Pacific Northwest at Emerald Downs. Also, William Leach and Charles Stojan from Alberta qualified multiple horses for these championships at Evergreen Park in Grand Prairie, Alberta. But now, back to the contenders for the John Deere Juvenile Division, and we start out with Bad Monkey. He returns to New Mexico for the championships and appeared to get better this summer throughout every race. He got in the Grade 3 Ruidoso Juvenile Challenge. He finished very well here for a neck decision over that fellow qualifier, Isa Super Freak. Subsequently, Bad Monkey was the top qualifier for the Grade 2 Dash for Cash Futurity. He broke sluggishly, though, that night, was nudged out of position, and eventually finished in the back of the field. Owned and trained by Dean Fry, the California bred has won half of his 6 starts and taken home $76,000 plus. He's won both his races at Ruidoso Downs and is certainly a top contender in this John Deere Juvenile Championship. Trace Jess is a newcomer to racing, but he carried the famous Blue Silks of the late Blaine Schwanevelt to victory in the Los Alamitos Juvenile Challenge, trained by Schwanevelt's protege and eventual son-in-law Roman Figueroa. Trace Jess powers past this field to earn a spot in Saturday's championship. The challenge out at Los Al was just his 3rd race. He has since defeated a first-level allowance field at Los Alamitos in a September tune-up. He's owned by Marco Hernandez. The last horse chronologically to make the Juvenile is the improving JC Wild King, the 2nd fastest from a pair of trials for the John Deere Will Rogers Juvenile Challenge. This Oklahoma bred took a step forward in the regional final. Racing on the extreme outside, he prevails by a hard-fought neck and breaks his maiden in the process. J.C. Wild King is a younger full brother to a stakes winner, J.C. Wild Rose, both bred and owned by Jose Cervantes. Fidencio Jimenez, the trainer. Now 1 for 4, J.C. Wild King is one of the more lightly raced horses in the John Deere Juvenile Championship, and could benefit from a lighter workload. The other division restricted to horses of a certain age is the Adequan Derby division. These 3-year-olds go 400 yards, and the Adequan Derby Championship is a Grade 3.
And here is the field for the Adequan Derby Championship. The one horse is Luchador, ridden by Escar Ramirez for trainer John Steinbaugh, owned by DP Cattle Company. Apolitical Barbie is the 2. Kelsey Purcell has the mount. Again, John Steinbaugh, the conditioner. Apolitical Barbie is trained by Barbara Chase. The 3 is Light-Footed, owned by Charles Stojan, trained by William Leach. Ricardo Marino, the jockey. The 4 is Juice is Loose, Jason Olmstead, the conditioner. 4 owners, Tom Mayer and Stephen Williams. Berkeley Packer, the rider. The 5, A Painted Dynasty, Alfredo Segala, the jockey. 4 trainer, Santos Carrizales Jr. The owner is David Gutierrez. The 6 is Mott the Hopple, owned by Mark Cassell, trained by Casey Black. Augustin Silva, the jockey. The 7, Mr. Tornado, owned by Fernando Flores, Roman Figueroa, the trainer. Sergio Dominguez is the rider. Just My Hawks will be ridden by Mario Delgado for trainer Jordan Bauman, who is pinch hitting for Michelle Hurdle, who has trained this horse throughout his career, his short career. Tom and Kathleen McAnally own Just My Hawks. Dr. Toole is the 9. Jesus Valenzuela, the jockey, for owner Luis Gonzalez, and Sergio Ibarra, the conditioner. Astronomical, the 10. Stacy Charette Hill conditions. Romero Garcia, the jockey. MC Stux owns Astronomical. This is a pretty good field here, Jim.
Yeah, it's a large field, and there's a nice array of horses from different regions in this race. But the way it shakes out on paper, at least from this view, it pretty much begins with A Painted Dynasty. And he seems to be the most accomplished horse possibly on almost the entire card on Saturday, certainly in this division. Here he is romping to a Dash for Cash Derby trial victory at Lone Star in the second-best overall time for that race. He ran 5th in the final, snapping a 3-race winning streak that included a rallying score in the Sam Houston Derby Challenge, which was contested this summer at Retama Park. Trained over the summer by Alonzo Neri for owner David Gutierrez, A Painted Dynasty is an Oklahoma-bred colt with 7 wins from 18 starts, but nearly $235,000 in career earnings, thanks to on-the-board finishes in multiple graded races. He goes for his first graded win in the Adequan Derby Championship. Astronomical found Prairie Meadows to her liking in that Altoona, Iowa Tracks Derby Challenge back in August. Racing on the outside, this Texas bred sweeps to victory and earns a spot on Championships night. For connections familiar with the program, trainer Stacy Charette Hill took the Grade 1 Distaff 3 years ago with Just Paint Your Lips, and she has this filly in this Derby this year. Astronomical has only raced once as a 2-year-old, but as a sophomore ran 3rd in the Grade 3 Oklahoma Derby back in March, and she is 4 for 9 lifetime. Arguably the most dominating regional winner in 2020 is Just My Hawks. He takes over at the beginning of this Will Rogers Derby Challenge and powers away to a 3.5-length win, with jockey Mario Delgado along for the ride. Bred and owned by Tom and Kathleen McNally, Just My Hawks is an Oklahoma-bred gelding who's won 6 of 11 starts. He qualified for 2 of Remington Park's graded derbies this spring, the Heritage Place and Remington Park Oklahoma-bred Derby. He's going into the Adequan Derby Championship with momentum, having won 2 straight and 3 of his last 4 for trainer Michelle Hurdle. Others might have a better resume, but Luchador lived up to his combative name in the Ruidoso Downs Regional Challenge. Racing one path off the inside, the South Dakota-bred gelding battles all the way and gamely noses out that day's favorite, Silk and Stilettos. Owned by DP Cattle Company and trained by John Steinbaugh, Luchador is 3 for 10 and made the Adequan Derby Championship after previously running third to a Painted Dynasty in that Retama Challenge. Another narrow challenge winner was Mr. Tornado. In the red silks between horses, this California-bred gelding gets a good bob at the finish to edge Zuman Jess in the Los Alamitos Challenge in May. Trained by Felix Gonzalez for owner Fernando Flores, Mr. Tornado has 6 career wins and ran 5th in the Grade 3 El Primero del Año Derby in March. Dr. Toole didn't need any photo finishes in either of his Derby challenges. He draws off in the Weber Downs Challenge in May by a length and a half, and follows with a similar-looking score in Pocatello, Idaho in July. Owned and trained by Luis Gonzalez, the Texas-bred Dr. Toole has raced twice in Albuquerque leading into the championship, recently running 4th in the La Fiesta Derby.
Hello, I'm Selena Molina, singer, actress, animal lover, and racehorse owner. Few things give me greater joy than to watch them do what they truly love, to compete at the racetrack. And like thousands of other quarter horse owners, I respect and love my horses and give them the best of care. They're like family. Come see the world's fastest athletes at a racetrack near you. I might just see you there.
This is the AQHA Racing Challenge Update, powered by American Quarter Horse Association. The $100,000 AQHA Distance Championship is a Grade 1 test. 3-year-olds and older go around the hook at 870 yards. Edelman is the one horse, trained by John Hamas, owned by John and Nick Hamas. Ramiro Garcia, the jockey. Higher Flying Eagle is trained by Clint Crawford for owner Joel Rod Pierce. Daniel Amaya, the jockey. High on Chablis will be ridden by Berkeley Packer for, again, trainer Clint Crawford. The 4 is Madewell, Benito Baca in the irons, Bernard Baca, the trainer, for Ray and Davey Madewell. The 5s, SW Bulletproof, trained by Travis Lusk, owned by Jason Udy. Jesus Valenzuela will ride. Kelsey Purcell has the mount on I'll Take You for a Ride, trained by Cody Joyner for I'll Take You for a Ride partnership. I'll Take You for a Ride is the 6 horse. The 7 is Ms. Esther, owned and trained by Jordan Bauman, Andrew Samaniego, the rider. And CM Once in a Blue Moon is the 8 horse, ridden by Luis Gonzalez for trainer Nick Lowe and owner Chris Sutton. Again, a very good field of distance runners here, I would say.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't think there's necessarily a clear-cut favorite. You know, last year, this Grade 1 event was taken by Let There Be Sound, who went on to divisional honors as an AQHA distance champion. And it looked going into the distance championship last year, which also happened to be at Albuquerque, like sort of a grudge match between him and Ms. Esther. They ran 1-2 in the race in that order. But this year, Let There Be Sound is sitting it out. Ms. Esther is back. But there are some other interesting propositions in this race, and one of those comes from Remington Park's challenge way back in the spring. Look to the outside in this Grade 2 Remington Park Distance Challenge in April. Higher Flying Eagle swoops over from post 7 to take over at once and romps over 2 eventual members of this distance championship field. Madewell will be 2nd and Ms. Esther 3rd. Off since then for trainer Clint Crawford. Higher Flying Eagle is 3 for 3 in 870-yard races after a modest string of down-the-lane efforts earlier in his career. The Texas-bred 4-year-old races for Joel Rod Pierce. Ms. Esther is another whose career turned around when she became a distance runner. She's now won multiple graded stakes around the turn, including the Grade 3 Will Rogers Distance Challenge. A stalking 3rd early, Ms. Esther uses her patented rail rally to take over in the stretch, and she makes short work of this group in a reunion with jockey Andrew Samaniego. Back in the distance championship for the 2nd year in a row, Ms. Esther is an Oklahoma-bred 6-year-old mare owned and trained by Jordan Bauman. A winner of the 2019 Pauls Valley and Remington Distance Challenges, Ms. Esther has 9 career wins from 19 starts and earnings of better than $192,000. Wearing red, I'll Take You for a Ride drew the rail for this Lone Star Distance Challenge and relinquished the early lead. But the dueling leaders eventually start to give way on the turn. One race is very wide. And at the top of the stretch, all I'll Take You for a Ride had to do was swing outside of SW Bulletproof, and the result is a Grade 3 win for trainer Michael Joyner and the I'll Take You for a Ride partnership. Another who blossomed with the stretch out to distance racing, I'll Take You for a Ride, has experience at Albuquerque, winning a trial and then running 5th in its Grade 2 distance challenge there in August. The Oklahoma-bred 6-year-old has 7 wins, 6 at this distance. Madewell also did some running from just off the pace in the Grade 2 Albuquerque Distance Challenge. Wearing blue here, Madewell gets racing room between horses in the upper stretch. Has to work hard, but eventually outlasts his rivals by a hard-fought length and a half. The winner of last year's Grade 2 Remington Distance Championship, Madewell, is a 6-year-old gelding and stakes veteran, trained now by Bernardo Baca for Ray and Davey Madewell. Not content to just train him up to the championship, Baca saddled Madewell for an allowance prep in September at the Downs, where he dead-heated for the win with Nico's First Cartel, who happened to be the runner-up in his challenge race.
Yeah, Jim, sometimes I have a tendency to want to handicap these 870 races like thoroughbred races, and does Miss Esther have some speed to run at?
Exactly.
And that has come into play because she does nothing but close, and except for that last race when she just had no difference because everybody was backing up in front of her, but early in the race. But it looks like she does in this race. There's quite a few that love to jump out there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw SW Bulletproof, who was in the Lone Star race with I'll Take You for a Ride, race off to the early lead and duel with a horse that eventually blew the turn. It's interesting, though, that there are some horses in this field that are fairly comfortable from coming from out of it. We saw Madewell do it in Albuquerque in his trial. I'll Take You for a Ride even let them go and then rallied just off the rail at Lone Star. And, of course, we know Ms. Esther loves to rally. So I think there will be a couple of horses go out and dash off early. It always seems like that. For one thing, the ones that draw the outside posts inevitably have to send out pretty hard to try to get into position.
Well, Ms. Esther being a notable distaffer, they're going a short distance as well, and it's usually about the second most anticipated race of the night.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think perhaps one of the heavier favorites on the card on Saturday night might come in the distaff, and it could be Linder 16. Her first challenge win at Canterbury Park in July was a game score by a neck over another awards recognition concepts distaff qualifier, Fosse. Linder 16 then moved with trainer Jason Olmstead's contingent to Ruidoso Downs for its challenge. And this time, from the outside, the Oklahoma-bred 4-year-old was along in time by a half length. A winner of just shy of 50% of her career starts, 10 for 22, Linder 16 has banked more than $640,000 from a career that includes a victory in the 2018 Remington Park Oklahoma-bred Futurity. She's owned by Tom Maher and R.L. Tobin. Yet another Oklahoma-bred in the lineup came through Will Rogers Downs, Splendid Cause. She was challenged from both sides in the Will Rogers Distaff Regional and fought on to win by 3/4 of a length. Runner-up Doc's River Spirit also got in the ARC Distaff Championship. Trained by Dee Keener for Kelly Other Equine LLC, Splendid Cause is a 5-year-old mare with other stakes experience at a variety of tracks: Remington Park, Los Alamitos, Ruidoso Downs, and Fair Meadows. She's earned better than $163,000 from 8 wins and 37 tries. The Polar Vortex is an Iowa bred who likes Prairie Meadows. Just like her brother, the Fiscal Cliff. He won the Grade 1 BOA championship there in 2017. She's back in Saturday's ARC Distaff Championship after a narrow score over the fast-finishing LOL in the Grade 3 Prairie Meadows Distaff Challenge this summer. Now trained by Stacy Charette Hill for owner-breeder Thomas Lepick, the Polar Vortex is a 5-year-old mare with 8 wins and 27 starts and earnings of $136,000 plus. She gets a new rider in Benito Baca.
And the Polar Vortex will break from the one hole with Benito Baca in the saddle. The Polar Vortex is owned by Tom Lepick. The two horses Get It Hot she'll be ridden by Ricardo Moreno, for owners Charles Stojan and trainer William Leach. The three, Linder 16, Berkeley Packer with the ride, Jason Olmsted the conditioner, for owners Tom Mayer and Richard Tobin. The four is Splendid Cause, Cody Smith the rider, Clint Crawford the trainer, Kelly Yother Equine the owners. J.R. Prissy's Blood will be ridden by Jesus Valenzuela. Riley Mooseman trains for his father, Ron Mooseman. Fosse is the 6. Mario Delgado will be in the irons on Fosse. Mitch Milleron, the owner. Alan Hibsha, the trainer. The 7 is LOL, trained by Robert Don Johnson for owner George Seward. Britt Berzer, the jockey. Loco Ocho is the 8, trained by Garth Blattner for the estate of Les Barlow and Darla Barlow. Mario Salcedo, the jockey. Lovely Cuvee is the 9, trained by Dirk Perry for Beckham Ranch. Augie Silva will be in the saddle. The 10 is Duck Dash and Go. Esgar Ramirez will ride. Duck Dash and Go is trained by Garth Blattner for owner Lex Fabrizio. Jim, time for the big race.
Yeah, the big one is the Grade 1 Bank of America Challenge Championship. And past winners of that race have been some of the best older handicap horses of the past 2.5 decades. In fact, Down with Debt, SLM Big Daddy, Taylor Fitt, and Streakin' Sintacha all won this race during their AQHA World Championship season. Now, who knows about the World Championship situation this year? However, the field is deep. It's written for 3-year-olds and up. This year, it only happened to draw older horses, and they're going 440 yards.
And here is the field. Strip Stake is the 1 horse. He's trained by William Leach for Charles Stojan, the owner. Ricardo Moreno will ride. Eagles Fly Higher is the 2. Casey Black, the trainer. Mario Delgado, the jockey. Eagles Fly Higher is owned by Darling Farms. Charlie's Fury will break from the 3-hole, owned by Tom and Kathleen McAnally. Jordan Bauman, the trainer. Augustin Silva will ride. The 4 is He's a Blues Man. Ramiro Garcia, the rider. John Hammis owns and trains. The 5, Pirate Cove's Hero, trained by Jesus Olivas, owned by Julio Torres. Alberto Medrano in the irons. The 6 is Frog Nation. Carlos Chacon, the rider. Trainer Julio Corral, and he is the owner as well. The 7 is Justifiably Jess. Benito Curiel, the trainer, owned by Malin Cowgell. Luis Gonzalez in the saddle aboard Justifiably Jess. The 8, Mi Amor Secreto. Alfredo Segala will ride for trainer Santos Corrales Jr. Kelly Perez owns Mi Amor Secreto. The 9 is Walcott, owned by Pedro Marquez. Alejandro Chavez trains. Mario Salcedo has the call. And last and certainly not least, the 10, Danger. Cody Smith rides for owner and trainer Dean Fry. Danger is owned in a partnership with Dean Fry, Downtime Enterprises et al. And this is a good one, and it's a great lineup.
No doubt about that. One of the strongest lineups for the championship that we've seen in the last several years. And the qualifying races were particularly interesting to see them start to come in. Some really strong individual performances. And a horse with a tremendous amount of accomplishments is going to lead us off. And we're going to start right out with Danger. Here he is on the outside. He'll get by Eagles Fly Higher in this Grade 3 Canterbury Regional Challenge back in July. And despite all of his accomplishments, this was Danger's first graded win. He's an Oklahoma-bred 4-year-old. He's regularly ridden by Cody Smith and, as Keith mentioned, trained by Dean Fry. Danger enters the big one as hot as anyone. He's a 9-time winner from 18 starts, and he's really come into his own as a 4-year-old after placing in multiple Grade 1s at both 2 and 3. The Oklahoma bred is owned by Fry, as Keith mentioned, along with Downtime Enterprises and Billy Smith. Now, Danger didn't exactly fade into the background after making the championship. On Labor Day weekend, he ran a gutsy second behind Dexter in the Grade 1 All-American Gold Cup at Ruidoso Downs, then came right back to win the Grade 1 Albuquerque Fall Championship from the outside. Again, just getting past Eagles Fly Higher in the late stages. Same track, post position even, and distance as the race on Saturday. And he has built his career earnings to nearly $737,000. Eagles Fly Higher may have run second to Danger at Canterbury and Albuquerque, but the ultra-quick Oklahoma-bred colt is having a great year for trainer Casey Black. In the Grade 2 Prairie Meadows Championship Challenge, he steps well clear of the rest under just occasional urging to beat Charlie's Fury and show horse He's a Blues Man, and they'll both be back for Saturday's championship. Second in last year's Grade 1 Texas Classic Futurity, and victorious in the Grade 2 Eastex and restricted Grade 1 Sooner State this spring, Eagles Fly Higher is having a sensational campaign with 3 graded wins and 7 starts. For his career, he's brought home $490,000 plus for Darling Farms. Last year's Albuquerque Fall Championship winner, Mi Amor Secreto, started 2020 with a flourish, winning the Grade 2 Remington Park Championship Challenge way back in March. Owned by his breeder Kelly Perez, trained by Santos Carrizales Jr. these days, Mi Amor Secreto had to work hard in the Remington Challenge to get past the stubborn mare Finian Faith. A Texas-bred 5-year-old, Mi Amor Secreto is 5 for 23 lifetime, with earnings of $529,000 plus. He'll have post 8 in the BOA Championship. Another worth a look here is Charlie's Fury. He earned a spot with a second in the Prairie Meadows Challenge last year. But last year he raced in the Adequan Derby division. This was going back to last year. And he won a regional at Will Rogers Downs for that in romping fashion. He then ran second in the Grade 3 Adequan Derby Championship in 2019 at the Downs in Albuquerque. He competed early before giving way to Valiant Tiberius in what was still a strong second. Normally trained by Michelle Hurdle, but cared for in Albuquerque by Jordan Ballman, the 4-year-old Oklahoma-bred colt races for Tom and Kathleen McNally. Charlie's Fury is 5 for 16 lifetime, with earnings of $234,000 plus.
Jim, I don't want to spoil things with all these great horses, but I tell you what, Charlie's Fury has paid his dues. He's been knocking heads with the best of them for a couple of years here. And it's not going to surprise me in the least if he throws a big race here. And Michelle Hurdle has that horse always looking like $1 million. And the way he, in the post parade and his mannerisms all the time, he seems like an old pro, kind of an old soul in this young, muscular body. And Charlie's Fury is not going to surprise me at all if he jumps that. And he's always in the money, it seems like, especially lately. I mean, he's kind of like he's really coming into his own, it seems like, just kind of like Danger has this year. He's been running behind big. Well, now he's beating the big horses now. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this race. Of course, Danger and Eagles Fly High are, they're that's a match made in heaven. You got a horse that can kind of close and nip him at the wire with the speed of Eagles Fly Higher. He's probably the best gate breaker out there right now. So
it's going to be interesting to see the distance factor. I think if the race were at 400 yards or even 350, Eagles Fly Higher might have a huge advantage. But it seems like the farther they go down the track, the more Danger rallies. And as far as Charlie's Fury, I didn't get into that piece very elegantly, but to sum it up, last year he was in the Derby division. He made the final. He ran a pretty creditable second. This year he's moved up to the championship division. You do like to see horses do that stay in the program from year to year, and we do see that quite frequently. And as far as Charlie's Fury goes, it's a very wide open race, no doubt. And the way things are in quarter horse racing, you get away a step slow, you never know. It could open it up even wider. But there's some really nice ones in there. And at that 440-yard classic distance, it gives everybody a good shot down the track.
It should be a great night, and not only this race. I mean, the whole lineup is full of talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real marquee horses in there. We've mentioned them, some horses that have earned well up into triple digits. And so it's one of the more, I think, multifaceted championship nights that we've seen in the last few years that we've been really actively covering this for this series. Well, that'll just about do it. All that's left now are the big races coming up on Saturday. We hope you can look in on those and take part in those if you choose to do so. And that means that our next and final edition for 2020 of this series will be the recap. We will recap all 5 of the big races on our next edition of this show. For Keith Stallbories, I'm Jim Byers. Thanks a lot for looking in, and please look for us next time, coming up shortly here as the races are this Saturday, here on the AQHA Racing Challenge Update.